will tell you about the programs we're going to talk about today. And here's a transcript for the folks that might be sight impaired and can't listen to what I'm saying. I tell folks when I do speak at senior centers that if they do have problems sleeping at night, instead of taking Ambien, they should just kind of click onto one of my podcasts and they'll go right to sleep. But let's go ahead and move on to these two programs. I'm going to click on my PowerPoint. Hopefully it opens up. Now this is, here we go. We're not going to go through every slide here because a lot of it is just Medicare in general, but we're going to go ahead and scroll to the section that's going to talk about paying for some of the costs in the Medicare program. Now the first program, the first program that we will talk about is going to be the Medicare Savings Programs, which is the family of programs known as the Qualified Medicare Beneficiary, or QMB, SLMB, the Special Low Income Medicare Beneficiary, and QI1, the Qualified Individual 1 program. There's a fourth program called the Qualified Disabled and Working Individual program, known as QDWI, but that's really doesn't come into play that much in my program, so you have to kind of learn a little bit on your own about that one, but that program will only pay the Part A premium. But under the MSP programs, now as good as these programs are, this is better in my view than the LIS program that we'll talk about in a second, but there's more rules and rules that can hurt you. So if a person has Medicare and they have a hard time paying for the Medicare premiums, the deductibles, and the co-pays, they should go ahead and apply for Medicaid in their jurisdiction to see if they qualify. Oftentimes folks don't qualify for Medicaid and they sometimes give up, but people need to realize that under Medicaid there are these other three programs, the Qualified Medicare Beneficiary, or QMB program, being the best of the bunch. With that program, if a person were to be eligible, Medicare will pay for their Medicare Part A or Part B premiums, their coinsurance amounts, and their deductibles. It will pretty much act as a Medigap plan. However, people have to be aware that not all doctors take Medicaid, and since this is a quasi-Medicaid plan, it may not do them much good. Usually you have to have a doctor that accepts Medicare and Medicaid to get off scot-free with no cost out of pocket. But that being said, this is still a very good program. It will allow an individual a maximum income of $951 a month. Now this income limit does include the $20 income disregard. But again, a maximum income for one individual of $951 a month, or $1,281 a month for a couple, with assets of no more than $6,940 for a single, or $10,410 for a couple. And it tells you what gets paid under that program. It's a very good program. In addition, all of these MSP programs are going to lower the individual's out-of-pocket costs for the Medicare health and drug programs as well. So a person that does get any of the MSP programs would pay very little for their drugs when they go to the pharmacy counter. They would pay, like $1.10, no more than $2.60, depending on the situation for a generic, and $3.30 usually, and in some odd situations, $6.50 for a generic brand name, or excuse me, a brand name drug, not a generic drug. If your income's too high for QMB, then it should almost automatically, when you fill in your application, if you don't qualify for Medicaid, full Medicaid, or the QMB, it will look to see if you qualify for the Special Low Income Medicare Beneficiary Program, or SLMB. That program does not act as your Medigap plan at all. It will only pay your Medicare Part B premium. Again, that's almost $100 a month savings for folks, so that's a nice benefit. You do get the drug bonus as well on the Medicare drug plans. The maximum monthly income for an individual is $1,137, or $1,533 for a couple. And again, the assets stay the same as the previous program, $6,940 for a single, $10,410 for a couple. If you don't qualify for that program, you have a little bit too much money as income, then you move on to the Qualified Individual 1 or QI1 program. Again, that program will only pay the Medicare Part B premium and the costs that it will pay towards the Part D reduction in out-of-pocket costs. The maximum monthly income for this program is $1,277 a month for a single, $1,723 a month for a couple. And again, the assets stay the same. Now, the problem with this program, and I don't really want to call it a problem, but it is basically a quasi-Medicaid program. And as such, they have tougher eligibility rules in regards to the assets and the penalties for transferring those assets. As you know, there's, at least in Virginia, and every state's a little different, and we're a little conservative in Virginia, to say the least, but we have a 5-year look-back rule that applies for Medicaid. And so if a person transfers assets to become eligible for an MSP program, they're going to face a penalty just like they do under Medicaid itself. So they have to be careful about that. They can't just give away their money. Now that program, again, is a very nice program. It's the better of the two. You apply for the program at your local Department of Social Services or Family Services, depending on where you live. They have a different name for those type of programs. But I tell people, if they are even close to being eligible, go ahead and fill out the paperwork. When in doubt, fill it out. Now, that being said, let's scoot back a little bit, a couple of slides, to the Social Security program. Here we go. Extra help with drug costs. The SSA, or Social Security Administration Low Income Subsidy Program, known as LIS. It's available for many people with limited income and resources. The income limit this year is $1,396.25 a month for one person, and they'll round that off, I'm sure. $1,891.75 a month for a married couple. And here are the asset limits. You have $13,070 for an individual, and you have $26,695 asset limit for a married couple. You would apply for the program either hard copy applications, which we have at the SHIP programs. You can get one at Social Security, or you can go online. And it's kind of a nice website, the www.ssa.gov website. And if you just put /prescription help, it'll take you right to the link or the portion of the Social Security website where you actually complete the application. It's kind of nice. They got a little picture of Chubby Checker, which a lot of you, if you're my age, would remember, because you used to do the twist as a kid. And you click on Chubby Checker to get to the application portion of this program. People with the lowest income and resources get the most out of this LIS program because there are several levels of subsidy. You can get almost a full subsidy like you do under Medicaid or the MSP programs, or if your income is at the very high end of the scale, up at the top limit of, for let's say an individual, you're up close to $16,755 a month. You're not going to get a whole lot of help, but you will get a sliding scale premium. You'll pay no more than $65 for a deductible, and you pay 15% coinsurance on your medications until you reach a certain amount of out-of-pocket costs, and then the amount drops to very small out-of-pocket costs. Again, we talked about Medicaid a little bit, and we spoke about the Medicare Savings Programs. With the LIS program, again, it's just a very good program for people to get into. It does not, as an example, one of the questions is what type of assets are counted when you look at these programs, and they really don't include, they do not include the value of your home, a vehicle, burial plot, and they usually allow some burial expenses up to a state limit. So each state might be a little different. It's $1,500 here in Virginia. Your furniture and other household items. So I'm told that some states don't even have any limits on resources. So again, it's a nice program to take advantage of for the folks that live in your jurisdiction. Now, I think that I'm not sure what else you guys need to know. These programs all get allocated according to the federal poverty guidelines. So if we were to go back just real quick to the QMB type programs, QMB itself is at 100% of poverty. The SLMB program is at 125% of poverty. The QI1 program is at 135% of poverty. And LIS from Social Security goes up to 150% of poverty. So there are a lot of opportunities for folks to try to reduce their out-of-pocket expenses for these different programs, and they should take advantage of it. And matter of fact, as a lot of you probably do know, the federal government has been, up until this last year, has been pushing some monies out with the MIPA program to encourage SHIP programs and other partners with Medicare to get out into the community and get these applications completed for MSP and LIS. And we've done a very good job in this office of getting that done. And they have been doing a great job around the state of Virginia. I don't know about other jurisdictions, but I'm sure that a lot of folks have done great jobs trying to get those applications filled out. So that's the basics, and I think that we've covered them. I'm sure that there's probably lots of questions, so if there are questions, let's go ahead and take them.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Howard. I realized that at the beginning I did not say who I am. So I'm Elizabeth Messenger, and I'm the Outreach and Education Manager here at NeedyMeds, and we're really excited that Howard could come host this webinar for us today. If you do want to start typing questions for Howard to answer, go ahead and do that. Just a few quick things. I just wanted to give you my contact information in case you have any questions about NeedyMeds or anything like that. We are going to work on getting a recording available, kind of in the works for working with our software. So I can't guarantee that'll happen quickly, but we did record the webinar. And my email address is elizabeth@needymeds.org. So that's elizabeth@needymeds.org, and we're always happy to send out our brochures and drug discount cards and everything like that. So just get in touch for any NeedyMeds related things. And I see that Howard has some contact information up there. Do you have any maybe an email address for them, Howard, if they want to get in touch with you?
Sure. An email address for me would be howard.houghton, that's spelled HOUGHTON, at fairfaxcounty.gov.
Okay, and you all should have gotten an email from me, so you can always email me if you want to get in touch with Howard. So we do have a question. Okay. The question is, what is the difference of benefits SLMB versus, I think that says QL1. Does that make sense, Howard?
QI1, yes.
QI1.
Got it. Okay, good question. The difference, really, there isn't any difference. The only difference is, I'm just going back a couple slides here. Here is the page that tells you about both programs. One just allows you more income. The problem, not a problem, the thing to keep in mind is that this program here, the QI1 program, is a program that can run out of money. And so if a person does have more than 1137 as income, let's say they've got 1150, just for arguing purposes, that's the way it usually works. You miss it by a few dollars. If you miss it by a lot, you don't feel so bad. You miss it by a couple of bucks, you're kind of mad that, darn, I just missed this. The problem is, though, you've got a little bit too much money for here, you apply for this program. But if your state or the feds have run out of money for this particular program, then you're out of luck because they've run out of money. It's never happened, though. So that's the thing to keep in mind. You go ahead and apply. It's never happened, and let's hope it doesn't happen.
Okay. Next question. With these programs, will the people still hit what they call the donut hole with medications like they can with Medicare?
Another good question. You guys have great questions today. No, you will not. If you qualify for these programs, you do not experience a donut hole. So you will just keep paying these small co-pays that you normally pay when you go up to the drugstore counter.
Okay. Does VA SHIP assist the patient with the MSP application process?
Well, I can't speak for my other offices around the state. There's 22 SHIP programs in Virginia. Mine just happens to be one of the largest with 120,000 residents in my one county here. And we do help folks with applications. It's in the state of Virginia, at least, it's a Medicaid application, which is like a 14-page application, a real hernia package. You know, by the time you fill that out and get all the documents together, it probably weighs 8 pounds. But we do help folks fill that out, but it's pretty standard fare. I mean, it's, you know, it's contact information, name, address, your income, that type of data. So it's not that difficult to complete. It just takes a while to do it because it's so long.
Okay, there's a question about getting a copy of the PowerPoint slides. I do believe you can get them right from the Fairfax County website that Howard was on. Also, right, you can, you know, email Howard or I, and we can get them to you as well. Yeah, it's right on my website there, folks, and you're certainly welcome to look at it and use it if you think it's worthy of your use. The question is about, they've heard that you can get backdoor into LIS with the disregards for MSP. Is that correct?
Okay, backdoor to LIS with the...
it says with the disregards for MSP. Not...
Gee.
Perhaps that person can retype the question while we...
I'm not sure I understand that. I'm sorry. The backdoor to LIS. Now, what there is, now I'm not sure this is what they're asking. On the LIS application itself, there is a question. I'd have to pull out an application and look, but there's a question towards the end, and it's a very short application for LIS compared to MSP. LIS is like 6 pages perhaps, which is the way it should be. But there's a question on the LIS application asking you, or the applicant, whether they would like LIS or Social Security to forward their information to the local Department of Social Services, or in Virginia they call it Department of Family Services in my area, to go ahead and see whether or not the person qualifies for the MSP programs. And if that's what you're requesting, yes, that does happen that way. A person will automatically have their data sent to, in this state, the state of Virginia, to see if you qualify for the MSP programs just by applying for LIS. But there is a little box you can check off if you know you're just not eligible for MSP. Let's say for assets, you know, there's an asset problem, you know, because with LIS you can go up to, you know, a little over 13,000 for an individual, where here it's only 6,900 for MSP. Well, if you know that you got too much in assets, you can just check off the box on the LIS application saying, no, do not send it to Social Services, and they won't. Otherwise, it will go to Social Services, and you'll get something in the mail letting you know if you do qualify for Medicaid or the MSP programs.
Okay, great. Next question, and if that didn't answer your question, Natalie asked that, please do retype it and we'll try to answer.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, she did retype it. Let me just read over the clarification.
Thank you.
Okay, it's a little long, but here we go. There are certain disregards for MSP in order to bring down one's monthly income, such as payments towards a health plan, or if someone is working, they can subtract $65 and then divide this income amount in half. All MSP have a $20 disregard. Does that clarify anything?
Well,
maybe you can email, or you can call or email Howard. That might be.
Yeah, email me with that if you will, please. I'm not sure. There are some income disregards, but they're usually very small. Like with MSP, it's the $20 income disregard that I mentioned. That's already factored into my numbers. And I think
so go ahead and email Howard, I think is the best way to handle that.
It would be.
Okay, next question. Are those income maximums pre-tax?
Are they pre-tax?
Yes.
Well, they're gross. They're looking at gross income.
Okay. Do you have an idea of what the turnaround times are for the LIS and MSP applications?
Well, MSP, again, is Medicaid, and in the state of Virginia, they have a 45-day rule, so they're allowed 45 days to process the application and get a reply to the applicant. Sometimes if they're very busy, it'll take longer than that, I'm afraid. And I'm not saying that's good, but I have seen applications that take several, a few weeks longer. It'll still be retroactive to the when in MSP, not to the month of application, but if you're approved, becomes you're eligible the first of the following month. But with LIS, when you file your application hard copy, it's going to probably take a good 30 to 60 days to get a reply from the folks at Social Security up in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. But if you do it online, then you're going to get a quicker reply, usually less than 30 days.
Okay. Can anyone help someone fill out the paperwork for MSP or LIS applications, or do they have to go through the correct office only?
Oh, anybody can fill out the application, and anybody can help you fill out the application. You don't need to necessarily have a SHIP person, help the individual, or somebody from the local, Department of Social Services help, or somebody from Social Security help. I'm sure that you can make arrangements to get to either the SHIP program, the Social Security, or the Social Services to set up and schedule some type of an appointment if you need the help. But you can have a friend help you, a family member help you, and as long as you have all the documentation that's needed, just get it together and get it on in, because the quicker you apply, the quicker you get a response, and if approved, the quicker you start getting some help.
Okay. Doesn't seem like there are any more questions. We'll give everyone another minute. So the clarification was so an outside advocate could help if needed, and that's correct, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Why don't we each give them our contact information one more time, and then we'll see if there's any lingering questions. So again,
sure.
Any questions about NeedyMeds, or if you'd like to request materials from NeedyMeds, I'm Elizabeth Messenger, and that's Elizabeth@needymeds.org. And Howard, if you want to give your contact information one more time.
Yes, it's howard.houghton, HOUGHTON, at fairfaxcounty.gov.
Okay. Doesn't seem like there are any more questions, so don't hesitate to get in touch, with either of us if you think of anything down the line. And again, I know Howard and I both appreciate you all taking the time to learn more about this, and hopefully this was educational for you and helpful. And you all have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.